Video for today, big react. If nobody can afford a home, who's going to buy them? Very big issues nowadays. The housing market is increasing with each passing day and it never seems to stop, leading to crazy prices in the cities, going almost for half a million in for a house everywhere. It's crazy. It's crazy. The meta will be in a far future that you need to be a millionaire to afford the house, a house, any house in the future. 10 years from now, I'm telling you, being a millionaire is gonna be normal.
Fewer young people than ever are going to be able to buy a house in their lifetime, and at the same time, homes are
Housing market predictions for 2023. When will home prices be affordable again? Keep coping, boys. They're not gonna be anymore.
getting more expensive every year.
1.9 million.
But if nobody can afford to buy a house, then how the fuck do they keep getting more expensive?
Because there is always a demand for them. That's the problem. People still keep buying regardless of how expensive they get. People should stop doing that. Eventually, they need to stop. The moment we collectively stop from playing into the hands of these landlords and leasing companies, whatever the fuck, that's the moment when the prices maybe eventually will decrease. The reason they increase is because there are buyers.
So the idea of being able to save a 20% down payment is almost unimaginable.
Yeah, rent gets raised, 1,000% with no notice, and
A family home
1,000%. Excuse me? Just put the guy that did that in prison. This is insane.
should be the bedrock of your financial life. It gives you somewhere to live while building up equity in a place that you can one day call your own.
The only thing that will build is a bunch of debts that you'll have for the rest of your life, and that's if you get accepted by the bank.
Owning a home with a 30-year mortgage is cheaper out of pocket every month in most cities.
Yes, that's why people do so. They get a place so they don't have to pay the rent, right? And they keep the place after they pay the mortgage.
Than renting. So if you can buy your own home, you will be richer now and richer in the future. You already know this, but if you're in the 75% of my audience that doesn't own a home, it's probably because you can't afford one.
Yeah, you can't, and also I don't know for America, but I know for Netherlands, they look at the amount of salary you have on a yearly basis, and the amount based on that, they can afford to give you maybe 4 times that amount as a loan to get yourself a house. And the houses being half a million demands you to have a bunch of money saved up before you can even get to that point to loaning the place, because even with to mortgaging the place, right, to getting it, because the loan would still not make up for it.
According to a report by Redfin, only 21% of homes that went on sale in 2022 were considered affordable. That's down.
Look at this graph. From 50% in 2013, this is 2013, to 21% 10 years later. Excuse me? Where is society going to? I made a video before about people feeling lost. I mean, I can see why. Can everybody see this? Is anybody coping? I guess the guys that are selling and their houses, they are coping because they are the ones to benefit from all of this. But everybody else, we're losing here.
Down from 60% of homes that went on sale in 2021. That means in just 1 year, 2/3 of all affordable housing became too expensive for the average American.
We started from 900K to 2 million. I've also spoken to people from Australia that were telling me that a house that people bought 10 to 20 years ago, I don't remember exactly the details, it was around 200,000, and now they are selling it for 2 million Australian dollars. which is almost the same. That's a 10-time increase in the last 10 to 20 years. I don't feel like that's normal. Does anybody else do that? Do feel that the same way? I feel like this is going crazy. Should I expect the prices of this 2 million in 10 years from now to be 20? Is that it? Should I be a multimillionaire to even afford a house? Is that it? That sounds ridiculous.
The team conducting the survey concluded that housing affordability is at its lowest point in history. But what's the endgame here? If people can't afford a home, then house prices can't go up anymore, right? Wrong. I don't want to make another one of those stupid
Wrong.
Finfluencer videos about how the housing market is going to crash in 3.5 days.
Bro, everybody expected the crisis during COVID. Where is it? We're still in the midst of price increasing in everything, and housing being one of the worst players in that, and it still goes up. Like, when is this crisis gonna hit so that we can go back to affording a house for less than fucking $500,000?
But there are three reasons
Or
why it can get a
euros.
lot worse before it gets better. The first reason is that houses do not need to be affordable for you to buy one. If you think that can't make sense, there is an entire industry working to make it true. You don't save money to buy a house. You save money for a down payment.
The housing costs are completely out of line with wages.
Wages have not kept up with house prices.
Yeah, they haven't. But like, house prices is like a 10x. Obviously, the wages are maybe a 2x, maybe 2 to 10. There's a discrepancy, if you can see what I'm saying, right?
But a 20% down payment only grows at 1/5 the rate in absolute terms, so people are still able to get into the market. According to Zillow, the average home sold in America in 2020 traded for $230,000. At the start of 2023, the average home price was $330,000, a jump of $100,000 in less than 3 years.
Less than 3 years. We live in a society, I suppose, and you can see the trend everywhere happening. Like, at a smaller degree here in Romania, but it's starting to get there as well. Like, we're not gonna be 300k. Nobody can afford that. But at the percentage they increase there, that's the percentage increase here with lower prices, obviously.
According to Forbes, the average American makes a salary of $59,000 before tax. After federal tax and FICA, that leaves them with a take-home of $49,000. If this average person saved a ridiculous 70% of their take-home pay to buy a house, they would be just as far away from their goal after 3 years because the price of the average house grew just as fast as their savings. The average home earns as much as the average person. But most people only save for a down payment, so 70% becomes 14%, or 7% if it's a dual-income household where the other partner also earns the average salary. That's still a major savings commitment when 57% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 payment without taking on debt.
Cannot afford a 1,000 emergency expense. A bank rate survey from earlier this year found 57% of people are uncomfortable with their level of emergency savings. I mean, I have a bit of say in this. Number one, I feel people are not good at savings. Most of them are very, how do you say, they like spending a lot and not thinking about what they're spending, which is a big issue for most people. They haven't been taught to save up money properly, and obviously these people will have most of these issues. But 57% of people signifies that it's not only the idiots that go to clubs and spend thousands upon thousands per night, and then they complain the fact that they have no money to save up. The percentage will be much smaller than 57%. So this is a macro issue that affects not only the idiots but also the normal people that just literally, as much as they could save, would not change the fact that they still cannot afford to save to save enough to have $1,000 of savings in their with each passing month. A bunch of people live paycheck to paycheck. I feel the majority of these people, of course, are idiots that don't know how to finance themselves properly. They have never had education finances. They used to be very poor when they were young. So now they once they get a bit of money, the first thing they do is buy the latest brand of car, even though that's gonna be coming on a lease for the next 20 years. They're gonna go in on every expensive luxury bullshit, and then they're gonna complain that they have no savings. Meanwhile, they have 10 Gucci bags in their houses. Obviously, for these people, they got what they deserved. But for the people that didn't do so, the people that actually thought about their finances, the people that actually save money with each week, they're calculating everything and still not being able to save up this amount of money, I feel bad for them. It's a really bad situation to be in if you're one of those people, because you're literally you're not affording, hard like expensive hobbies, because you're trying to save up money. Some people decide to not make a child because they can't even afford money to get the money that they have to pay for their mortgage to be enough. So there's a bunch of compromises that people have to do to keep up with this financial crisis we are in right now. A financial crisis, though, that doesn't lead to decrease in the housing prices, but instead does the opposite. Wowee. So, and I think overall, I think buying a house for sure would be a good investment, because the way this goes, 100% of the time you will get your money back, because that the price in houses will always increase. Apparently, they never go down. So buying them as soon as possible is better, because 10 years from now they're gonna be 3 million if you buy one with 300k, as they say here.
14% of your take-home pay should be more manageable than 70%. But remember, this is only how much you would need to save just to keep up with price increases. This doesn't actually get you any closer to your goal of buying a home. Lenders and banks with a vested interest in real estate assets across the country know that it is still hard for most families who also need to pay for food, rent, and other essentials that are outpacing wages. So they have moved the goalposts. A report by the National Association of Realtors found that the average down payment for a first-time homebuyer was just 7%, and the average down payment for a repeat purchaser that has had time to build equity in their previous home was only 17%. If you only need to put a tiny deposit down, house prices can increase to many multiples of your income before it becomes impossible to buy a house. If you only need to save for a 7% down payment, then just a 10% savings rate over 3 years from an average wage would get you into an average house. You would be more disciplined than the average American, but it's not impossible with...
Americans are well known to be to be big spenders, and their spendings always goes into shit that you will look at the end of the month, and you'll be like, how much money did you spend on this bullshit? La boo boo, you spent $300 on it? Are you stupid? You will barely make any money. Or that couple that I've seen that they divorced over Genshin Impact pools. $600 of savings they had. For their whole marriage, they managed to have a $600 savings, and the guy blew it all on a gacha game. GG.
With some sacrifice. If that's still too hard for you, then Zillow recently announced that they would be trialing a 1% down payment loan product to help people that couldn't save any money make the biggest financial commitment of their lives.
Here's how it works. The buyer pays a down payment of 1%, and then Zillow makes an additional contribution of 2% at closing. That is a grant and doesn't need to be paid back.
So even though houses...
That doesn't sound bad. It sounds like a good deal. Probably there's a catch there, but they haven't mentioned it.
Are making more money than you are, the price of entry is being reduced just as fast. But that's only to make the down payment. You still need to make the repayments, and if you can't put 20% down, what hope do you have of making repayments on a house? Well, it's time to learn how money works to find out if the circus...
What is this down payment? Apologies, I'm gonna go a bit out of the way and look into down payment and repayment. Uh, Meaning, because I'm a bit confused on this. A down payment is an initial payment made towards the purchase of an asset, like a house or car, when financing the remaining amount with a loan. An initial payment down the purchase of an asset, like when repayment refers to the process of paying back the borrowed amount. Oh. Essentially, the down payment reduces the loan amount, while repayment is the process of settling the loan debt. Huh. So this guy is just saying that the down payment, the initial payment, so what, you out of a house of 500k, yeah, they'll say, oh, it's fine if you pay only 100k now and then you pay the rest afterwards. Wow. And you only that doesn't increase by much. The rest though, don't think about it. Just don't think about it.
Really can go on forever. The second way that houses can keep on getting more expensive even when nobody can afford to buy them is because nobody is selling them.
But we also don't have anyone putting their home on the market just because they have a 30-year fixed rate below 3%. So nobody wants to sell a home right now, and there are still plenty of people who want to move.
Home sales in America are at their lowest level in a decade despite population growth. According to data from the National Association of Realtors, 6 million homes were sold in 2021. But now, only 4 million homes are selling at an annualized rate. Potential sellers with a home loan don't want to sell because the rental market is even more unaffordable. And if they move into a new home, they will get a new home loan that has a much higher rate than what
so kind of difficult to do so.
they are paying currently. Many people already moved.
And also, there's such a much of a hassle with moving from house to house. You gotta do with all the bullshit documentation, and only when you think about it, you just like, yeah, I'm demoralized. I don't want to start this bullshit. Let's just keep this house. Unless it's really necessary, why would you do that?
During COVID, and another move so quickly would be too disruptive on their social and family lives, in addition to the significant interest expense of new home loans.
You have to consider you have to do all that bullshit whilst also working. It's just gonna be like a few months of bullshit. You won't be able to even breathe properly. And if you have a family on top of that, good luck. You have to deal with work. You have to deal with your family. You have to deal with moving the house. You have to do with all the documents that moving the house requires you to look into. A bunch of BS.
The average homeowner spends
I don't wanna
13.2
think
years
about it.
in their home. After a flurry of home buying activity in the 13.2
The median homeowner tenure is 13.2 years, a 3-year increase over the last decade. I mean, hey.
2 years in their home. After a flurry of home
hey, like I just described, why would people be disincentivized to move out of their home? There's so much shit to deal with while doing
buying
so.
activity in the last 3 years ever are just settling into their new home, and they have longer than ever before they consider selling. New
For
buyers
sure.
are also choosing to wait out their purchases until interest rates drop. The average number of people living in a household also increased
This decade will likely be the first in at least 160 in which American households have more people. Average number of people per household. 5 people per household. 2.6 people.
recently for the first time in 160 years after a long trend of smaller families and people choosing to move out into their own homes. According to Pew Research that published this report, this was because more younger adults were choosing to or being forced
To stay with their parents. Which, by the way, people do be hating on that movement. Oh, if you're independent, you should move out of your mama's house. And do what? And do what exactly? Be in debt for the rest of your life because people are telling you to stay out of her house, and then you move into a house that is 300,000 and you have a salary of 50k a year, and half of it is this is not net, this is gross, right? So out of that 50k you get maybe 30, and you also have insurance and all the bullshit you have, and then you have the rent, so you basically don't save anything out of it. So maybe in 30 years from now you may be able to acquire that house. Maybe though. Let's be honest here. I would rather save up money by staying at my parents' house, cause that's a good strat, and also it's not that bad. And so why people do be complaining? Hey, what's so bad about living with your parents? Now depends from situation to situation, right? For some people, their parents are awful, and you just want to leave. For those guys, you do what you gotta do, right? But for most people, their families are chill, so then they're not they wouldn't mind if you stay around with them. You don't have to be forced to get out just to prove to everybody else that you can make it out there. It's a bunch of bullshit, bro. No, you don't have to prove yourself to nobody. That's what I learned. Never do so. Never. Like follow your own goal and objective. And if people complain about it, they can go fuck themselves. Really.
Forced to live with their parents for longer to avoid living in an unaffordable housing market. The market is still active, but regular
Is it that bad though? Just saying.
buyers and regular sellers are choosing to sit out until moving into a new home becomes more affordable. And it's the people who are left that are the third reason this can keep going on longer than you think. There are three groups still in the game. The first group are all cash buyers that have money from selling their old home and want to buy a new one. If you are a boomer that purchased their home in the 1970s for 3 nickels and you now want to downsize, now is an ideal time to take advantage of the market. When prices are higher, the spread between a single-family freestanding home and a smaller property is larger, giving you more cash to live off of. The second group are people moving interstate. Unaffordable housing is pushing people out of expensive cities across the country. You would probably prefer to stay in your home city even if you had a job that you could do from anywhere. Closeness to friends, family, and familiar amenities is why people only live 18 miles from their hometown on average. In defiance of the
They're also much cheaper, and you live close to your community that you've grown up with. Living in the city, people say it's super cool. If you ask most people, especially here, I was in Netherlands, keep that in mind. I used to work to be a student in one of these, smaller towns, and all the teachers I've spoken to, they say they have their sons, they go to the capital in Amsterdam, and most of them they come back after 2-3 years. It's too much of a hassle, and you don't get that much out of it. You gotta be a very specific type of person to like the hustle in Amsterdam, really. I was there 2-3 years. That was the timeline for me as well. It was too much.
a part-time hedge fund manager and full-time YouTube comedian Patrick Boyle.
Where should my friend How Money Works live? I don't know, maybe Dubai. He's one of those flashy YouTuber types. He probably wants to live on one of those Palm Islands, hang out at malls buying designer goods, and maybe do some indoor skiing. That's just the kind of guy he is.
I chose to stay in my crappy one-bedroom San Francisco apartment because moving is a pain in the ass. But if you're really struggling to afford a high cost of living city, you can improve your lifestyle by moving to cheaper cities with lower rents and property prices. If you move from a city like San Francisco, Seattle, or New York to any other city in the country,
If you live in New York, bro, do you really want to pay a rent of 15,000? 15,000. 3 zeros, not 2, 3. I've heard that shit. I was like 15,000 for a week or a month. Who has that money?
you are going to be able to buy a lot more house for the same money. Your higher income from working in these areas will push up local prices, and in the process,
Yeah, thanks to remote work, there's the benefit that you can work, from a cheaper place. But most places, unfortunately, they have hybrid work, not only remote. Very hard to acquire only remote only, because your hiree would like to see your face from time to time to know that you're not, you're not being a slowpoke down at your place. That's the thing, right?
of
And they want team building bullshit to for you to engage in. Wonderful. I really love those ones. But remote work, good thing they introduced that in the meta, because most of us wouldn't be able to make it out without it.
avoiding the rising home prices, you have just made it
Bit
worse.
too annoying.
And therefore you have more people competing for rental space because the cooling of housing market has kept people longer in rental tenure. So that is the reason why competition has increased. The supply has been constrained because people are not moving from rental to owner.
The third group are investors. Investors only care about the return on their asset.
So he was saying because people are renting more and more, the prices of housing also increases because of that as a consequence. Is that it? Like, and renting increases in numbers because obviously of the population growth, I imagine. I mean, and obviously everybody wanna move in America, right? Because it's the country of freedom, the country where your dreams can come true. So there's always a demand for that, and I can see that even 10, 20 years from now, there's still the price increase in housing is gonna still happen because the demands are out there. That's the thing.
Prices are high right now, and investors using financing to buy property are also paying higher interest rates, but in return, they are charging higher rents to long-term tenants.
Yeah, that's also the strat. So what you do is if you have money, you just buy a bunch of houses and then you sell them for 10 times the price in 10 years from now.
And short-term vacationers, if they list
it's a really good investment because it's gonna grow regardless of anything that is gonna go
properties on sites like Airbnb.
World. Make no mistake, prices are still too high.
The largest increase in home buying has come from this group. According to Redfin, year-on-year growth in investment purchases reached 145% in 2022.
Investor home purchases fell most on record in fourth quarter. Year-over-year change in number of U.S. home bought by investors. They know what's up. They found out that this is doing a bunch of money. This is a free printing money machine, and they realized we gotta abuse the system. And because they abusing the system, everybody gotta pay for it.
And institutional investors buying up stock for real estate investment trusts were the fastest growing group of investors.
All of us commoners, hey, if we got no money, too bad for us.
Real estate investment trusts, or REITs, work like index funds for real estate. They buy a portfolio of properties using money collected from a large group of investors. REITs are sold both over-the-counter through companies like Blackstone for high-net-worth investors or as exchange-listed securities for average people. REITs used to focus on commercial real estate like shopping malls, hotels, warehouses, office buildings, and farmland. The high cost of these properties made them suitable for sharing between multiple investors. Residential REITs have experienced a sharp rise in popularity, though, because people that can't afford to buy a home themselves still want exposure to this market. Some people are putting savings towards a down payment into REITs because they should provide returns consistent with the residential real estate market so their savings won't be left behind by rising house prices. The popularity of this asset class has been caused by unaffordable housing, and it's also made housing more unaffordable. But this can't last forever.
This is the worst!
And as
it's gonna happen forever. Maybe forever as in throughout our lifespan. I don't see this going down. This is how bad it is.
As much as I hate to say it, those stupid fucking finfluencer thumbnails may be right. Things are starting to change.
This is why the market is largely resisted to sell off and why it's still possible for home prices to go even higher, even though it kind of makes no sense.
It does make no sense. The percentage at which rate the housing is increasing is ridiculous.
Redfin report has revealed that investor purchases have slowed significantly, and surveys from local agents in cities like Las Vegas, Austin, Miami, and Houston revealed that institutional purchases have stopped completely. The private equity company...
I mean, bro, if you want to live in one of those cities, bro, you gotta be ready to shill in the money, man. You gotta be making sure you print out money every day to live in those places. And I don't think there is that much value as they make it seem to be.
Blackstone, not to be confused with the investment index company BlackRock.
Oh, let me live in LA. In order to do so, I gotta pay $3 million for a house, and then the other down payments and all that bullshit. Come on.
Had to block investor withdrawals from its $71 billion earlier this year, sparking concerns that the whole system was overvalued. If investors...
It is overvalued. This is crazy. This is not okay. This is just making us, the commoners, the peasants, the normalos, the normies, eat shit. And there's so much shit to it until the bubble bursts. That's all I'm gonna say.
Pull their money from these trusts too quickly, the investment managers, in this case Blackstone, will be forced to sell one of their properties in their portfolio. BlackRock was accused of overestimating the price of the properties it had in its portfolio.
Obviously.
But that's hard to prove until it's forced to sell one of them. But as soon as just one property needs to be sold, all other comparable properties in that trust need to be readjusted to a similar value.
Hopefully.
A sharp drop in the value of the trust could trigger more investors to withdraw their funds, causing the manager to sell more properties, pushing down prices even further.
Hopefully that happens. Hopefully that happens. Did it happen yet? Nope. I still see people complaining about the housing market over there. I still hear people complaining about the housing market here in Europe. Everywhere I go, Romania, Netherlands, both of those countries I've been living in both countries the prices are skyrocketing with each passing month. Stupid. The house that my parents bought, twice the price now. In Romania, by the way. Twice the price.
But don't get
And that was like 10 years ago.
your hopes up too much. If you
It's not 10 times like in other places, but still.
own shares in a REIT, the easiest way for you to liquidate your
Increase is,
position would be to sell
It's like a 10% increase each passing year.
your shares to another investor, which doesn't require any cash to be liquidated from the assets themselves. The bonus fourth reason is that wealthy families are just doing a better job of holding onto more properties for themselves.
Obviously.
In the past, family wealth struggled to get past the first two generations. But now that investing has become so easy and lucrative, we might be starting to live in a new age of nobility where family...
The thing is, if you are already wealthy, you are balling right now. It's so easy to get more and more richer and richer. Problem is, that's not the large majority of people. Most of people are struggling, and it's harder and harder to keep up with the price increase in literally groceries, housing, everything. Dating, relationships, family, kids, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, hey, my boy Elon Musk, let's check how much growth in his bank account has been in these past few 10 years. What it increased 50 times? Good for him, man.
Dynasties
Good
can
for
last
him.
centuries. One group of American billionaires is already there.
Fucking
So go and watch
investments.
my new video over on how history works to find out why the Rockefeller fortune isn't likely to disappear ever. And if you want to watch these videos daily and get articles that will never be made into videos for YouTube, then subscribe to my email newsletter Compounded Daily to keep on learning how money works.
Yeah, it's very important for people to realize that this, this is a trend. It's been a trend for a while. It's gonna still keep being there. The reason for that has been described. I think I agree with most points. It's the fact that people are renting more and more. There are still a lot of people that want to buy houses. Therefore, there's a big initiative for people to keep the price up, right? There's no point in decreasing them if there's a big demand. Yeah, and the reason for that is why people want to buy. That's because the main reason is there's a big demand, right? Why do people still want to buy houses even though their prices are being inflated? Investment, because even though they're inflated, they go with the presumption that they're going to be even more inflated in the future. So it doesn't really matter, right? Number two, you want to get your house upgrade, right, from a smaller to a bigger house or from bigger to smaller. So that's also the situation, right? Yeah. But there's also consequences to these price increases, and that leads to households having more members in them because people, some of them at least, refuse to leave their parents' house because they do believe that there is nothing out there for them to get, especially with the increase, the blowout of price increases in housing. So that's also a thing, right? There's a bunch of arguments for sure. I hope I cover a few of them at least. And yeah, that's it's a dark age to live in terms of keeping up with everything and making sure that you have even remote savings. Like like it seems to be the meta right now that you need to expect that you're gonna live paycheck to paycheck, which back in the days that will be only for idiots, right? If you wouldn't be able to properly assess money, if you would just go and be very you just spend on random bullshit, luxury bullshit, then yeah, I would say you just get what you deserved. But if that starts happening to people that actually save money and they're calculating their income and so on and so forth, and it still happens to them, it's a big problem. It's a big problem for sure, for sure. But yeah, that's how it works. I hope it's gonna get better soon, because everybody expects the bubble to burst. Hopefully it should happen soon, because I've been waiting for a while. I want these housing prices to get back to where they were 10 years ago.